So there's this semi-popular marketplace app called Mercari. On Mercari you can buy a lot of things, and what I usually browse it for is old electronics. There are a lot of people on there that like selling their old electronics, whether they're broken or perfectly intact, and I found this. This is a broken DS Lite. I bought this on Mercari for about $36, which is a good price, if I can get it working again. Now, the description of this thing was that it is broken for parts of repair, battery does not hold a charge, which is true, it doesn't power on. Now, I have a cord here, I'm gonna see what happens when I plug it in. It doesn't charge. I'm assuming it will not power on. Oh! Okay, so yeah, this is purely a battery issue. Everything else seems to be working just fine. So, this is also very dirty, and clearly the case is damaged, so I will have to replace that. The battery doesn't hold a charge, so this means probably if I just put a new battery in it, it'll work just fine. So let's try that right now. And I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna grab a fresh battery and see if that fixes this. So with me, I have a fresh battery, and I'm gonna see if slotting this in will solve our no power issue. I've placed in a fresh battery, and we're gonna see if that fixes the problem. And there we go. DS is now getting power as normal. So, now that we know that works, the next thing to do would be to replace this case, because it is horribly damaged. So, I've got a replacement one right here. And right here is the replacement case that I bought. It is a Pikachu one, and this is actually the first time I've opened it, so I get to see what it looks like at the same time as you. Looks pretty good, so let's start getting it on. As you can see, there's a lot of damage on the case of this. This is way later than I was supposed to do this, but I have to preface this video with, this is not a tutorial. I am following an iFixit guide to do this. This is like my third time working on ADS, but I am not in any way a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. This is for entertainment purposes only. So first things first, we need to take out the battery. And then under here, there are some screws that we need to take out. There are screws under these rubber pads, so we have to remove them. You will want to be careful if you're going to be replacing them, but these are not going to be going back on the console, so I do not have to worry about breaking them. And then there are screws in here that we have to remove. And these will also be Phillips 000. And then there are 3 more screws that I have to remove, and these are, instead of Phillips 000, these are Y00. And then there's one more screw right here. After we remove those screws, then the bottom should start coming apart. You can take a spudger tool to go in between and start removing the bottom cover. It is usually not that difficult to remove, but in my case, the way that the case has bent after the battery exploded made it a lot harder to remove. You can even see this is where the stylus is supposed to go, and it is completely warped. Now that we have the bottom separated, the next step is usually to remove the shoulder buttons, but those pop themselves out, so that saves us a step. Next we have to remove this tiny board right here. Carefully lift up, it is plugged in and has some adhesive that is holding it in place. And you're going to carefully remove this little connector on top. This tiny little connector here, we have to unlatch this and remove. Next, we have to remove this Phillips screw. And then carefully lift this assembly and flip it. Careful as to not hurt any of these cables. Now carefully remove this flex connector. And now what is possibly my least favorite thing, this little black cable here, which connects to the Wi-Fi card, has to be pulled underneath this and be removed. Now the reason this is my least favorite thing is because you have to put it back. And it is very hard to put that cable back. But anyway, now we have that removed. We can remove this motherboard assembly from the unit. I'm going to put this aside as I work on this. We now have to remove this. And now the lower display has been removed. Now I'm going to remove the button assembly. And these are also being replaced, so I will put these aside. And now we're moving on to this piece, where we will now remove these screws. It is very tricky to remove this, so be very careful when you are doing it. And now we have just the top display. I'm not going to worry about damaging these, but these need to be removed. These pads right here. I'm not going to worry about damaging them because I'm going to be replacing them with new ones. Then these Phillips screws need to be removed. After that, the top cover should slide down like this. And now this top cover has been removed. And then you will begin to gently press on the front display to begin removing it. And then now that that is loose, be very careful with it. So I've removed the microphone and the Wi-Fi card, and now I am going to attempt to remove this ribbon cable without destroying it. Alright, I finally removed the top display. You're going to need these, so take that out. And then this one's a bit trickier. And take that one out. And put those aside. There is usually more stuff that you would have to remove from the bottom, but since I'm doing a full shell replacement, then I do not need to do any of that. So, bye-bye. So now all of these old pieces right here, we are done with, and these will be placed aside. And now I'm going to carefully clean the two displays. And I'm going to put on some gloves so I do not get my fingerprints all over them after cleaning them. At some point I forgot I was a content creator, so just enjoy the music. And now those are nice and clean. And now I'm going to start the reassembly. Starting with one of the most stressful and hardest parts, putting the ribbon cable back in. Now, I do have a replacement plastic thing. However, I'm not gonna put it on, because I don't feel like it. It doesn't look... It looks pretty good with the black on it anyway. And it's not horribly damaged. These buttons are very poorly printed. So I'm gonna see what using the original buttons looks like. I'm gonna have to pause the recording because my phone is about to die. And we're back. In the meantime, I did put all the buttons in, and I think they look great. You'll see them when they're all fully put in. And now I have to reattach this digitizer to the back of this. Sorry I had to do that one off camera, but it was getting very finicky and I didn't want to risk breaking it. But now that that is in, I have to start placing this down in here. Oh my righteous, oh my, okay, oh my god, finally. Oh god, I hate this thing with a passion. Whoever designed this, why? Just why? I'm not mad, I'm just questioning why. So, that was a long time gap. What I had to do was sand down the original power button so I could use it. So I've sanded a lot of the original power button away, and now it slots in. So, wow, okay, that took way longer than it should have. Oh my god, that took 25 minutes! So I did it. I don't want to mention how I did it, but I got the L buttons in, and now I have to reassemble the rest of the DS. I just wanted to add really quick that a lot of the problems that I had while putting this together were caused by the third-party case that I purchased. So if I were doing this in a more well-constructed case, then it probably would have gone a lot smoother, and the end result would be a lot more favorable. So I felt like I just needed to add that. I don't recommend buying whatever one I bought. There were a lot of problems with it. So, can I fix a DS that I got from Mercari? Yes. Can I do it well? No. I'm probably going to consider this a fail because I couldn't exactly put it together right. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but you can tell that there's like some gaps here. I wouldn't call this a win. I'm going to fiddle with it more off camera at some point, see if I can fix it, but for right now, I think this is a maybe. And as I said, I'm not a professional, so stuff like this happens. And it's unfortunate, but at least the DS is working, so I didn't break anything while doing it. Let's test a cartridge in it. Well, it works, so there's that, at least. one more thing I want to find out is if it can charge. So I've got this cord here, and yep, it charges. So it is a working DS, but it's a shame that I couldn't put it back together properly, and I will fiddle with this more later. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!